So, 4 years ago, I read an article in the New York Times travel section about Kihnu, a tiny island that I had previously never heard of off the coast of Estonia, that the New York Times dubbed an island of women. Well, needless to say, I was intrigued, right? Who wouldn't want to visit an island of women? And I didn't have any plans at the time to visit Estonia, but I made a mental note that I had to visit this tiny women's island of Kihnu someday. Well, folks, this summer I finally got my chance during a month-long trip around the Baltic countries. And, as I started to research Kihnu before I went on the trip, I realized it wasn't just the New York Times that was hyping the place as a women's island that was inhabited by and run by women. It was also the BBC, National Geographic, Bloomberg, The Guardian, The Independent, Le Monde, Vanity Fair, and also a bunch of really prominent YouTubers too, including some channels that have millions and millions of followers. All the media coverage was basically pushing the same girl power narrative that Kihnu is a place where there are very few men living and the women run the island and are very content to not have any men around. Well, it didn't take me long on the island to realize that almost everything I read online and saw here on YouTube about Kihnu is absolute BS. So based upon census data, it isn't any more female than the rest of Estonia, and in fact, it's slightly more male than the country as a whole. And it is not run by women either. So it isn't a women's island. It isn't Europe's last matriarchy, as it's claimed, but it is a very special island. And Kihnu women have indeed played an instrumental role in preserving its very unique culture, which has been recognized by UNESCO. So with all that said, here's my take on Kihnu based on my travels and my reporting. And I hope that you appreciate it and enjoy my attempt to get to the bottom of this question. Is Kihnu really a women's island? This is the Adelaide Harbor. This is where you catch the ferry out to Kihnu. Very, very sleepy place. Nowhere to have coffee or drink or anything like that. But supposedly there's something maybe 5 miles away. So don't drive all the way down to Adelaide if you're coming to Kihnu thinking you're going to chill out here or do anything commercially speaking. Pretty place though. Looking forward to this journey. Waiting for the ferry to Kihnu Island here in Estonia. Really excited to be heading there. Why are we going to Kihnu? Of all the islands, there's quite a few of them. Kihnu is a small one. I think it's the 7th largest island in Estonia. It's like 4 miles long by 2 miles wide, something like that. There's about 600 people who live there. It's known to be the island of women. That's what they call it. There are men, of course, who live there too, but the men tend to be fishermen. At least they have been historically. So the women run the day-to-day affairs of the island, and it was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2003, which sort of put it on my radar screen. And I had someone I know who was here years ago and who said it was a very interesting island. The culture is supposedly pretty well preserved. So we're going to find out about all of that, what makes Kihnu special this weekend. So this is the Kihnu Island ferry, the 5:45. We're taking off 2 minutes early. That's always a good sign. Pretty decent sized boat. Can fit 16 cars, I believe, when I was booking it. I think it said the capacity was 16 cars. You said there was 5, Jen?
I think so. There were 5.
There were only about 5.
Plus people came
5 or 6 maybe, something like that. And you could probably fit 100 passengers at least on this thing. And off we go. Here we go. Some sort of fish on toast here for sale on the ferry. Not something you see every day. Very cool. And there is the sign. Kihnu Port as we enter Kihnu Island.
Turn right.
I've seen plenty of men here so far. Very fun outdoor restaurant here in Kihnu Island, and it's the only one that stays open past 7:30 on a, Saturday night. And here it is. They got some really good draft beer and burgers and kebabs and things like that. And here's the owners of the place right here. Yeah, I wish you could, they can't smell it in the video. It smells very good. Nice draft beers and good burgers, right, Jen? Kebabs, things like that.
Grill burger.
Uh-huh.
It's quite messy.
Good. Getting ready for a Kihnu sunset. Right, Jen?
I don't know if we're going to stand out here for now.
No. It's kind of cold out here. It's pretty though. Here's the Kihnu Museum. Look how colorful it is. Something so I can hear what it sounds like.
Mine tuo tuost luosta pealt muost suure paakoe sää.
How do you say good morning in the Kihnu dialect? It's not homikust, is it something different?
This is tere hommikust.
Tere homikust is Estonian. Say again?
Tere hommikust.
Tere umikust.
Yeah.
So similar.
Yeah, but a bit milder or not so strong.
Tell us something that she wouldn't understand.
Ja then mine tuost vastu pealt nii et lõunapäev.
What does that mean?
It means that go to the next room and pick up these potatoes and bring these
To me.
to me.
Tere. Tere. Very neat little handicraft store. Selling some of the traditional clothing here by the port. Traditional Kihnu clothing. Pillows, souvenirs, ceramics. Nothing made in China, which is really nice. Very cute stuff. It's pretty reasonable too for handmade stuff. Breakfast in Kihnu. I'm telling you, this Kihnu bread, this rye bread, I had to go to a different place to get it. And then I brought it over here and they toasted it for me along with my breakfast. This is one of the best breakfasts I've had in a long time. The bread is, Jen, how would you describe it? It has a little bit of a sweetness to it.
It's rye, but it's a little bit sweet too.
It's not like the kind of rye bread you get in the US. It is, the consistency of this. This bread is absolutely phenomenal. The eggs here and the sausages, everything are so fresh and delicious. Oh my goodness, I'm in heaven. This whole thing was €5, and the loaf of bread was also 5 as well too. And she split it. She gave us half a loaf of white for our kids and half a loaf of rye. This is, let's see what here's what it says if you come to Kihnu. And you get that label in there, Jen?
Yeah.
This is a phenomenal breakfast. Best €5 breakfast in Europe, I would dare to say. And Jen, pan around a little bit so she can see what the place looks like. It's basically most of the restaurants here in Kihnu are in people's yards. The butter too is so fresh. So good. This is Metsama. It's a neat little place where we're going to be staying tonight. As you can see, it's sort of like a farm complex. There's a wood smoke sauna, but it's expensive to use because they say it takes like 5 hours of labor to get it going and doesn't have a chimney. Check out this roof. It's kind of like a, almost like an AstroTurf roof. The big yellow building. Very neat. Farm on the island. They have a nice little coffee shop here. Ice cream and coffees and drinks and things like that. See the granny who's here, and her granddaughter runs the place. Her granddaughter runs the place, and there's a nice little souvenir store here. You can get the Kihnu dolls and Kihnu cloths and fabrics and all kinds of neat little products here. Really cute little souvenir shop. Nice pretty little dolls. So this is how they make these fabrics here. She's the expert who makes these. 85 years old, and see all of these products that they make are made right here. Passing through a bit of a village here, although seemingly an abandoned one. Get the Kihnu bread. My God, this bread is good, especially the black rye one. It's so good. It's not like any rye bread I've ever had before. There's also sort of a little cafe here. Like every place else on Kihnu, it's a really neat little place. But the bread here is really special. This is the famous Kihnu bread. Sometimes writers decide what their story is before they get there, especially travel writers, right? I try not to do it, but we're all guilty of it at times, right? So this New York Times writer, I'm sure she meant well, who wrote this story about Kihnu Island being the island of women, she's full of shit. Now, I don't know if she just came here and was fooled by somebody. She interviewed one or two people who all said, oh yeah, it's the island of women, because they're trying to market it as such, and they thought that it would be kind of a good tourism gimmick. It's not a gimmick really, because it is part of their culture, but it's historical. So the women used to be away, the men used to be away on fishing boats for long periods of time, and the women had to be self-sufficient and such. And you know, men are still fishing. There is still a fishing industry here, although nowhere near as big as it used to be. By the way, we're passing by some sheep here. Let's take a look at the sheep. So, historically, that has existed here, and it still does to some degree, right? But calling this an island of women now is ridiculous. It's completely absurd. It's like calling it an island of sheep because we're passing by some sheep. So this woman wrote in her article that there were only 2 men living here year-round. That was in 2019. It wasn't 20 years ago. That's ridiculous. I've interviewed probably a dozen people here so far, and they all say that's ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. It's almost 50-50 in terms of how many men live here and how many women, just like every place else in the world, right? Yes, men go away for periods of time, but there's a significant number of men living here. And in the summertime, people say in the wintertime, okay, in the wintertime there's more women. Okay. In the summertime, might be more men. Just from like eyeballing this place, in the summertime there's at least 50% men here. So, fake news, big time. Also, it says that the women run the island. Okay. Well, asked about the local government. There's a government type of city council type thing here called a Vald. I don't know the exact translation of a Vald. Hi there. Hi again. So a Vald is kind of, it sounds like a city council or something of that nature. Some friends of ours we just met at the bakery. There we go. And I asked, so is the Vald made up of all women here? No, it is not. The Vald has both men and women on it. So you can't even say the island is run by women. Sorry, I know. The girl power narrative.
In 200 meters, continue straight.
I was here because it's an island of women. I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to diminish the women of Kihnu Island. They're great. And they obviously have they run a lot of things here. They do a lot of things that men would ordinarily do on other traditional islands. I'm not trying to say that at all, that they don't.
Continue straight.
But billing this as an island of women and there aren't any men here and so on and so forth. And the writer in the New York Times also said that men were just starting to return because of the decline of fishing, and this is causing stress here. Like it's, oh my God, no, shit, the men are coming back. They were acting in the article. The author sort of asserted that this was a bad thing, but then we're coming back to Kihnu Island.
In 200 meters, you will arrive at your destination.
The whole thing is crap. It's all garbage. That's the truth. Back on the bike for another ride. Looked into this a little bit more, and not only is the island not ruled exclusively by women,
Continue straight to
but
stay
I've
on
now
Saddam
discovered
Higla
that
Route
the
138.
mayor of the island is a man, and the previous mayor of the island is a man. So at least since 2009, the island has been governed by men, and possibly before that as well too. Haven't been able to dig before 2009 yet. This is the island pub, quiet now, but last night it was really jumping. They had live music in here. There's the Kihnu Island Cemetery. This is pretty much everyone who has died on this island in the last, let's say, couple hundred years. Here's another interesting thing you'll notice about Kihnu Island, which is very distinctive for many islands, is that there's almost no sea view homes. So when you're riding around, you'll notice that. There's a few around the corner from the port when you first arrive on the island. Other than that, there's 4, villages on the island, and they're all really sort of defensive settlements. Oh, here's this dog. What the heck's this dog doing? It's our dog, guys. It's our favorite dog. This is the port dog. We love this little guy. He usually hangs out at the port. But you'd think, on most islands around the world, people, or especially islands that tourists go to, everybody wants sea view, right? They're building along the water. Not here. It tells you about the savagery of the seas in the wintertime. And it tells you about the winds too. So these are defensive settlements here, and very few sea view places. But of course, you're welcome to walk along the sea, but you're not going to get a sea view place on Kihnu Island, I don't think. There's a few, but not many. Nice detailed map here of Kihnu Island. Has not just the village settlements, but kind of everything on here. Like, for example, it has the farm names. Like, for example, that's Lohu Farm with the shopping cart, because that's the nice souvenir stand and cafe store where the granny is making really nice souvenirs.
Here's Metsama, where we're staying.
Here's Metsama, where we're staying tonight. It's like a cultural center and a place you can rent out. Nice. Last night in Kihnu, we found a place called Linakula Beach. I'm probably pronouncing that horribly. Linakula. It's on the west side of the island. It's a nice bike ride over here. It's about 4 kilometers from the main town. Maybe 5 kilometers from the port, something like that.
Town.
Yeah.
Intersection, little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's mostly on paved roads too, but then there are a few bumpy ones. Was James complaining about the bumpy roads?
No.
Good. It's very relaxed here. Boy, it's a really nice place to cycle. Very few cars, no elevation gain. I think I read somewhere that the highest elevation on the island is 29 feet or something like that. So where is that 29-foot summit? I don't know. Did you see it?
No.
Don't know.
Very
But
gradual.
the scenery here is really nice.
After a gray day with a little bit of sprinkles, we have a nice evening. So
Weather cleared up.
that.
It was actually beautiful in the morning, and then as the pattern has been, it starts to cloud over. By about lunchtime, it started getting very cloudy for a few hours. Went back, took a nap, came out, cleared up, just like that. And it's not South Beach behind us for sure, but there's nobody selling chairs or anything like that. No, nothing of that nature. But we also got the entire place to ourselves, don't we? Let's turn around this way so you can see where we are. Nobody around but the Seminara family. We got the entire Kihnu Beach to ourselves tonight, and I like it here. This island has been really interesting. You like it so far, Jen?
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's my rule about islands is if there's no airport on the island and you have to take a boat to it, chances are it is
No, but there is
unspoiled.
We found there is one.
We found out that there is an airport, but there aren't a heck of a lot of flights here, right? for the most part, it's a ferry island. Even the people who live here take ferries pretty much 90% of it. So
Before the 90s, when they started the ferry, people took seaplanes.
Yeah.
They're still at the airport.
during the Soviet Union, they actually had seaplanes. We learned that today, along with a lot of other interesting stuff. But any other closing thoughts about Kihnu Island? Who would you recommend it to? People who like
nature and quiet,
And
kind of
riding
rustic
bikes.
places. Ride a bike all around the island, stopping at little cafes and restaurants and
But it's
a
not-
few shops and museums, but there's really not much here. So if you like quiet and hiking and biking, it's a good place.
might not be quiet though on a Saturday night, correct? Or Friday night?
Right. People do come over here to party. We
Yes.
stayed at a place where there was a sauna and our the
And
other
a
people
jacuzzi.
staying at the, I guess it's like a bed and breakfast with us, were partying till 3 or 4 in the morning, so it might not always be quiet. But tonight on a Sunday night, it's quiet.
And the pub last night too was rocking. The band, we were like, when is the band playing? Oh, like, they start at 11 and they go till 4. We're like,
Yeah.
seriously, on Kihnu Island
I
till
think
4
the
a.m.?
Estonians like to party and drink a lot.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
And that's what I like about
I
them.
watched an hour and a half long wedding video today, and there was a lot of drinking, a lot of debauchery at the Kihnu
Yeah,
wedding.
it's a 3-day long wedding ceremony, by the way, we learned watching this documentary.
Yeah.
And Friday night is most of the activity, right, Jen?
Yeah, they have the legal ceremony in Kihnu, which is the town that you have to take a ferry to,
All right.
or they take a private boat. And then they have the church ceremony, and then they have the party with the wife being brought by her family to the groom's house, covered up so she can't remember how to
Completely
get home.
covered, or
Her
like a-
face is covered, you know, in the tradition, so she doesn't
Can't
know
see a
how
thing.
to get home. She's
Right, that's the
stuck
point.
with him.
She's stuck.
And then it continues. Lots of food, drinking, shenanigans. The next day, more pig roast. There was a sauna with women being, I guess, like spanked with branches, kind of like a sauna, which was a little bit odd. And then more drinking, throwing water and candy and all kinds of things at each other. And then it ended up with a quiet day on Sunday with soup and going to church and opening the presents.
Speaking of campgrounds, if you like camping, there's a campground right up the road here on the west side of the island, right near Lina Kula Beach, if you look on Google Maps. And it looks like a pretty well-equipped I'd say bathroom. I just used their bathroom. It looked actually pretty clean. So if you're looking for a campground, you like to camp, you can camp right near this beach, and you'll have I think, a pretty quiet and relaxing time here. Anyways, that's it, folks.